Okay, so if you have a background in portraits and weddings, what skills do you need to learn to shoot buildings? Well, this type of work is quite technical, so you really need to know how to control the light in an image by making adjustments to your exposure settings and your individual lights. Now, if you don't have much experience working with multiple lights and different layers, then you've probably got a bit of learning to do. So who is best suited for this type of photography? I've found that it's ideal for the photographer that likes being very precise with their exposures and likes getting very technical with their gear. Now, the two main methods of interior photography that are used are multiple flash exposures that are hand blended in Photoshop, and a set of ambient shots that are blended using a HDR tool, and that kind of work is commonly outsourced to a photo editing company. So if you use the flash method, then there are 3 steps. Step 1 is to light up the interior with 1 or more exposures, exposing for the inside. Step 2 is to expose for the outside view and fire your flashes directly at the windows. And then step 3 is to blend the exposures using layer masks. Now here's an example, and for this particular shot, we did one shot where we lit up the left side of the room, and then another where we lit up the right side of the room, and then we bring those 2 exposures together, layer them on top of each other, and using a layer mask in Photoshop, we hide part of the top layer to show the layer down below, thereby hiding ourselves when we're in the photo. And honestly, that's going to happen a lot in this type of photography, so you do need to get comfortable with layer masking. Once we have our interior light sorted, then we fire a flash directly at the window like this. Then we bring the window shut, we place it on top as a new layer, we change the layer blend mode to darken mode, we add our layer mask and we paint it all black, as we've done here, and then we selectively paint over the window using a white paintbrush to show just the window view outside, but we're not showing the flashed interior because it was brighter than the layer underneath. So that's why we select darken mode, because then Photoshop knows to only show the darker pixels of the top layer and not the brighter pixels. You can see here, if we select normal mode in Photoshop, then we see the inside exposure where we don't want to see it with those bright areas around the window. So we just keep it in darken mode, and when we do that, we've got a nicely lit interior. We've got the outside view just where we want it, and we can handle just about any situation using this method. I've got another video here called A Basic Introduction to Real Estate Photography that goes into this in more detail, so you can check that out if you like. Now, the other option, at least for real estate photography, if you just want to take ambient shots, then you'll do a series of shots, maybe 3 or 4 taken about 2 stops apart. And it's important that you get these exposures right, because if you don't, then you just won't get a good result. But once you do get a good set, you could blend the images yourself using photo software like Photomatix, Enfuse or Aurora HDR. But just be aware that it's not easy to get a really good, consistent result yourself. I see a lot of really poor quality HDR images out there with really terrible colors. So if you do it yourself, then play with the settings to get the color balance right. The other thing you could do is send the raw files off to a photo editor who will blend them for you and send back something like this. To do that, it's going to cost you $1 to $2 per photo. So if you're delivering 20 images to your client, then you're looking at $20 to $40 in costs for editing. So you want to make sure you're charging your client enough to cover those costs. Now, what about shooting for architectural photography for those commercial clients? Well, that's where you're going to get more advanced with your lighting, so I won't go into that here, but it's probably going to involve a lot of flash exposures and lots of hand blending of layers. I kind of think of those like a jigsaw puzzle, where you are selectively lighting small parts of the whole scene, and you have to get all of those pieces of the puzzle just right, and then put it all together in post after the shoot.